how soon are we talking? What's pushed them over the edge here?
Well, it's important to note that Saks has been struggling almost from jump, from as soon as they completed this merger with Neiman Marcus, and that was only 1 year ago today. And by the middle of this year, they were raising more money from the lenders whose bonds were trading at about half of their face value in order to pursue a turnaround and give themselves more runway. So those lenders threw even more money after what they had provided in December to fund the acquisition, and now they're looking at a wipeout of much of that value.
I am curious, Eliza, whether what ails Saks is indicative of something broader in the luxury retail landscape, or whether this is something that was more specific to how Saks itself was being managed.
I think it's somewhat specific. The company did raise quite a lot of debt to fund this merger. Saks was struggling already, but this was swinging hard to try to really come back strong and dominate the luxury space. But it was an expensive effort. So if it didn't go really well from the start, it was always going to be that debt would become a burden. And one thing that I think is also specific to Saks in this case is that prior to the tie-up last year, they had legacy issues with their vendor relationships. They had to or chosen to pay a lot of suppliers late, and that created what's commonly turns into a death spiral in retail, where you're not paying your suppliers because you can't afford to, but then they're not sending you inventory, so then you have nothing to bring shoppers in, and then you have even less money coming in to pay your suppliers. And that's been a real issue for Saks for many years, but especially this year, or at least continuing into this year, and inventory has been low. Anytime you lose suppliers, that's pretty much the kiss of death in the retail sector. I am curious, though, Eliza, based on your reporting, if there's any sense here that somebody would be willing to pick up this company, if not now, maybe out of bankruptcy. I mean, Saks, Neiman Marcus, maybe to a smaller extent, Bergdorf. I mean, some of the most iconic brand names when it comes to luxury retail. I can't imagine they're just going to disappear. Right. There's certainly no reason to assume at this point that they would disappear. What is common in a bankruptcy like this would be that some of the lenders who did supply that more than $2 billion worth of financing last year, they are still the biggest creditors to Saks, and they could likely take over some or all of it in the bankruptcy process. Saks will certainly also run a sale process for third-party bidders, and those lenders will also likely run their own process. But Saks has been saying for months now that it is in the market to sell a minority stake in Bergdorf Goodman, and it has said, the CEO has said publicly that he was running into interest in that and that they had bidders lined up. But I think as things deteriorated, it becomes clear that, no bidder, even if they are lining up, is going to buy it. If the company's otherwise going to go into bankruptcy, they're not going to buy it before the bankruptcy. They want to come in and buy it in bankruptcy where it's cheaper. So that could still happen as well. Some of these individual names could fetch high bids from trademark or intellectual property investors.